welcome to United by Football. I am Thomas, joined by
Abs.
and by a special guest today, which unfortunately is from the wrong side of Sydney, but Abs claims is the right side of Sydney. Hayden Matthews. Hayden, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good. How are you, mate? Thanks for having me.
Good. Abs has got a 3-page essay that I see that he's going to nicely read out to you about yourself. Let's let Hayden.
No. We'll let Hayden introduce himself. that part's coming later in the episode. But thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Mate.
A few unfortunate results recently, but we can hold our head high unlike some other clubs. So,
So early on.
Yeah.
So early on.
well, for the fans that haven't gotten to know Hayden Matthews yet, tell us a bit about yourself, man.
Sydney FC central defender, and kind of broke into the team earlier this year in January, and it's kind of been pretty quick since then. It's all happened really fast. I've gone from 0 to 100 really quickly.
Yeah, look, it's crazy to think he's only been around probably the last 11 months, barely even a year. You know what? This might be a match made in heaven. We started doing this thing a year ago. You broke onto the scene a year ago, and look at us today, guys.
Let's have a Socceroos clap. From the UBF, we're going to massive clap to Hayden on the new Socceroo as well.
Hey,
Thank you, guys.
Just quickly.
I've actually got a Socceroos cap at home. I'll put it on when he's playing.
What number's that? So I'm sure it's
0.
Hayden, just quickly, how is that to be called? Obviously, every player, they get asked, first thing when you get that call, who do you call? Mum, dad, yourself? Like, what is it?
Well, I'm still at home. I'm still living at home. So my mum and dad were there when I got the text. So it was pretty special. They were all around me. Like, it was good that I could see them. They were very emotional. Mum was in tears. I think dad was on the verge of tears, but he's one of those ones that doesn't show much emotion. Yeah, super proud moment for me and my whole family. It's kind of like it's obviously a lifelong goal for everyone that plays football from a young age, and yeah, to achieve it at such a young age was special.
And hopefully many more to come.
Hopefully, yeah.
Well, you know what's been quite special actually, Thomas? Our FPL standings for this week.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So,
6-page intro back.
I lead it again this week.
Quickly move on.
We're actually giving out a few prizes at the end of the season. Thanks to Lightweight Athletic. Thank you again.
Yeah.
It'd be a shame if I won my own prizes, to be honest with you.
Would it?
I mean,
Maybe we should give it to Hayden.
No, I've gave up on FPL week 2, so.
well, I've got a good 8-point lead on 8 points. 9-point lead on second place.
Yeah, that I wouldn't be comfortable. I would not be comfortable.
And a solid 17 points on our good friend Kevin KG. But before we move on, don't forget, use code UBF15 for 15% off at Lightweight Athletic. And thank you as well to the Corner Post. There's a bit of news coming out of there very soon. I'll leave that to them.
Should we move on to, someone said the right side of Sydney. Sorry, Hayden, once again. To our Lightweight Athletic Club Player of the Week. Drum roll, please. Sienna Semes, congratulations. Hat-trick. Just an absolute, 4, wasn't it?
3 goals.
3 goals.
Yeah.
And an assist, I think, as well.
She got 3 goals. Yeah. That's all that matters, mate. That's what won her the Player of the Week.
What an absolute performance from Sienna. Hayden, I believe, we were talking off camera, you and her was sort of...
Yeah.
How is she around there?
Yeah, really good player. You can see that she's got a unbelievable talent and a lot of things to work with, and to score a hat-trick. I mean, anyone who wants to score a hat-trick.
That second goal, mate, that is...
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I messaged her after the game. I'm like, could you not wait till there was a game that I was at to actually score the hat-trick? Because every game I've been to for the Wanderers women, they've either not scored, they've been battered.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just been, I think that was the first time in 4 games. I believe you guys actually scored a goal, let alone one. But let's get on to the A-League for this week. Wanderers to Brisbane Roar to Thomas. I mean, it started off well. Brendan Borrello scored 2 goals, a really nice free kick, even though I don't know how the keeper didn't save that. But it was a really nice free kick, knuckleball. But you just didn't have it, you just didn't have that grit inside of you to just get that win.
It's been a common occurrence in that club. Is Borrello ever on free kick training at the Socceroos? Ever in the camps? Does he go ball after training and take something?
I didn't see him taking free kicks. He was actually my roommate when we were away. So yeah. Nah, he's good, really good bloke. I hadn't really spoken to him much apart from derbies and stuff, and derbies emotions are high. Not really trying to get to know anyone.
Have you seen a free kick, but?
I have seen the free kick, yeah.
Now, do you reckon that's keeping error, or do you reckon that's the movement on the ball?
I honestly don't know. I think, it's hard because as a keeper, you're trying to, I guess, read what is predicted and what you're expecting to happen. So I think he's moved in behind his wall because that's what he's expecting the ball to go, and he's had to react from there, and just been unfortunate, I think.
Now, my next question is just on Brendan quickly. You remember very early days when we interviewed him?
Yep.
He made it known that he was Italian. Now, how Italian out of 10 is he actually? Like, when you were bunking with him, like, can you tell this bloke's a proper proper, you know.
No.
No,
So there was
no.
No.
There was no cafeteria at 7 a.m. There was
No.
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 Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, next question to you, Tom. That grit, you know, tell me, like, I just don't think you guys have it yet, but
It's concerning.
Yeah.
It's concerning, especially when you change defensive partners. Like, obviously, you guys are unbeaten in many derbies against us at this point.
yeah.
And for us, if we keep changing defensive partners, I don't think that's really a good sign from us. Hayden, just quickly on to you. How important is it to know your fellow centre-back partner? Because obviously with us, we've had Jong there, we've had Bonatig, and now Panthers in there as well. We've had so many defensive partners. I feel like Sir Alex said it best. Yes, attack wins you games, but defence wins you titles. How important is to have a solid centre-back partnership?
Yeah, I mean, as a centre backs, you're controlling the whole team. Like the rest defence, every time you attack, you're trying to organise, make sure the ball doesn't pop out, and you're not getting done on the counter. So being able to understand how each other plays and what to expect from each other is massive, and it helps you, I guess, adjust accordingly. If I know that if my partner's going to step in, they're going to win the ball. So I know, like, obviously I'll cover them just in case it doesn't, but I think it's one of those things that makes a really big difference where you've played a lot of games alongside someone and you've built that relationship on and off the field.
And I feel like I feel like that grit actually comes from that.
Yeah.
From understanding, even having a friendship off the field. I'm sure you're the same with Popper and Jake
Yeah.
before. Obviously, we'll go into Jake's story after. But so, do you see what me and sort of Hayden are going on there?
Yeah, look, like, and that's kind of what we talked about before. I think that Sydney, even though we're only 2 points off you guys, I see that within our team. I see that, you know, the boys are willing to kind of fight for one another. You see, you know, your relationship with Popper, you see your relationship with JCP. You know, you look at the midfield, the relationship between Anas and Leo, and then their relationship with Douglas. You know, there's something there. Whereas with the Wanderers, I think they're too busy trying to figure out right now where they are, who they are, what they're trying to be.
There's a lot of off the field stuff as well.
Yeah.
Which is
But there's a lot. Well, the one on-field thing they'll talk about the game was the antics, the time-wasting antics. Now,
you seen it?
Yeah, you can't really miss it, can you?
What do you make of it?
It's part of the game, unfortunately.
8 times, bro.
Yeah,
Hayden, 8 times.
I know, but I don't know. It's football. Like, you do whatever you can to win at the end of the day. Like,
Or in a derby, if the Wanderers were leading, or even FC, I would actually respect it. I would, like, okay.
that's what I mean. It's
frustrated as-
situational, right? Like, it depends where the club's at, what you're trying to achieve. Makes it, like, I think it's all part of the game, to be honest. I can't really say too much about it.
So, Abs, on to you. Because Brisbane was still looking for win number 1, do you reckon that factored into it at all?
yeah, 100%. But I have to agree with Hayden. It's part of the game. I think when it happens to you, it pisses you off.
I
Yeah.
didn't like that question, Abs.
No, you didn't. When it happened, not to you specifically, but even, you know, as an Arsenal fan, the game against Everton this week, and I know it was a completely different league. You had Jordan Pickford and his 2 centre backs just basically hovering over the ball in the last few minutes. That's just, it's part of the game. We have to accept it. Like, football is changing in a way where I think
That's always been in the game. Don't get me wrong.
it's more the opinion. I think some people just need to have a spoonful of cement and toughen up and just move on with it. If you weren't good enough to do it in that first 90 minutes, don't be pissed off that the team's basically sitting there and time wasting for the next 6. So that's a message to you and your fans, just letting you know. Yeah.
On to your lovely fan base, Salam. 7-goal thriller at Allianz.
Yeah.
Talk to us. Obviously, you were there. Saw the boys live with Jules and John Franco. How was that?
Dude, I've said it many times this season. There's a lot of games that we haven't picked up the points, and I was talking to Hayden about it outside. It's just, we're playing well. I can't walk out of that game and be like, you know, fuck, we should have done this, we should have done that. The team itself on the ball's doing really well. I think, you know, I'll let Hayden get onto it, but it's just, we can't be too frustrated with how we're trying to build. What we're trying to do in terms of, I think, how we're playing as a team, the style of football that we're playing, you know, building up from the back, holding the ball, pushing players up, is something that a lot of coaches are afraid to do in the A-League. Now, attacking-wise, looks really good. Obviously, you're going to get caught. And you know yourself being probably the one of, you know, yourself and probably Popper at the back that get just sitting there waiting for the counter to come at you. It's not easy to deal with. And I think that's been our biggest thing. You look at the game against, you know, Auckland, where, you know, I think we pinned them back for most of that game.
Yeah, we had I think 70% of the ball.
Yeah.
They actually did get a couple chances, which I think like Geordie put off an unbelievable challenge, I believe, like a couple block shots where we scrambled at the back end. But for the majority of the game, we have the ball and we're pinning teams, we're moving them about, and that's something we've worked on this year, and it's been taking that ability on the ball to the next step.
Yeah, I think the positive to take out of all of that is there's an identity there. I think I see what we're trying to do. I see how we're trying to play, and I see where it could work. Now, the one criticism I have, I think we need to take our chances better. I think we have a lot of chances where just pull the trigger that second earlier. You've probably got yourself a goal, and that's obviously no criticism on Hayden there because he's chilling at the back. But but like you look at Patrick's chance. The thing what you've said about Patrick is he takes his chances really well, and I think he doesn't hesitate. He sees the ball shoot. He gets the ball out from under his feet very quickly. I think you said that a few weeks ago.
I did, but again, Abs, you can't really say that because Hayden, I want to really ask you about Sigurcic. He's been in and around that squad for about 2 years, I believe.
Yeah.
I think he had a massive chance against us 2 or 3 years ago and squandered it. Now, obviously, got the start. Really came into himself. Got the 2 goals. Credit to him. How is he around the change room? Has he got a bigger squad? Because I think this year you've arguably got the best marquee signings in the league. Arguably. Is there an avenue for him to sort of find his way into that 11?
Well, Seg's someone I've known. Again, he joined the academy at the same time as me, under 13. So we've come all the way through together. He obviously had a good loan spell away in the Netherlands last year, and I think he'd come back with a lot of confidence after that. And yeah, he's taken that into this season, and I think when he's been on the field, he's made a massive impact. Scoring goals off the bench in the games where he's had the opportunity to start, I think he's performed unbelievably. Always gives 110%. He's he's always been a hard worker, been that person to just put his head down and work. But yeah, I think if he keeps doing what he is doing when he does play, I feel like you can't really ignore it, can you?
Were you surprised with Western and how they sort of came out? Because sorry. Before the season started, we had our off-season predictions, and we didn't really, judging by their transfers, we didn't really see Western and how they sort of could pose a threat to anyone. Obviously, Ibisuki being your main signing, we didn't really maybe take that into account. But I feel like he did trouble you guys from an outsider looking in. How is it a striker of that nature, tall, gangly, some would say, awkward to deal with? How is that as a defender to deal with? Because it did cause you guys some problems.
Well, he's probably the only striker I've come up against who's taller than me. He's the one person that I kind of come up against, and I'm like, if the ball's going in the air, this is a complete 50-50. I have no I guess, height advantage over him at all. He's one of those people, and his positioning is unbelievable. He's really good at positioning his body. But I think Weston play to his strengths as well. He loves coming off the line, holding the ball up, get him involved in the build-up and drop deep, and then make late runs into the box, which, honestly, I think they actually play some decent football. From all the games I've watched this season, I think they've been unlucky in a lot of the games. The one against Adelaide comes to mind with that penalty that wasn't given. But yeah, I think, honestly, the Western are one of those teams that play good football and probably don't actually capitalise on their chances enough. But against us, they obviously were able to put 4 past us. So
yeah, bro, it wasn't it's one of those where, like I said, I walked out of that game and I wasn't frustrated, but it was kind of I'm like, the boys, they tried their best. It's not like we walked out of that game and said, we should have done this, we should have done that. We had a goal disallowed. It's just a matter of, we're committed to the cause. Ulfi obviously wants everyone to push up and press and all that. And, at the end of the day, he's coaching a team to do that. And if, let's just say, Grant or JCP's kicking back and they're not pushing up, you can maybe ask questions because then, all right, everyone's pinned back. But they're not. They're doing what the manager's telling them to do. And, I think Ulfi knows that.
Yeah,
I think, even in the press conference after the game, talking to him, I could see there wasn't anger, compared to Ante Juric that day, who was livid. Ulfi knows it's a process. He knows that, he's got a young back line, he's got a young midfield, he's really playing without a natural 6. So defense, defense to how he plays isn't necessarily,
Yeah, I 100% get where you're coming from, but in the moment and coming off the field, conceding 4 goals as a defender is the last thing you want to do because, you win games and you score. If we had won the game 5-4, we still conceded 4 goals. Yeah. That's just the way I look at it. I still wouldn't be happy with the fact we conceded 4 goals. Yeah. From a personal and collective perspective, but yeah, I think there is definitely like there's no panic stations from us. I think we're in a good position where we're starting to click, and I think it'll all come together very soon.
And I get it as well. Like, you know, again, I've compared this a million times. I'm nowhere near the level of a professional footballer, but even when we won games 5-1, 6-1 last year, you could see that one goal.
Frustrating.
And it's sitting on your mind for the next 2 days. Like, I could have had a clean sheet. It shouldn't be that way. But
Yeah.
before we move on to the next game, what do you think it's going to take for us to just, all right, click, to just get there and figure that side of it out?
Well, I think it's not really taking our chances at all, because I feel like we're creating the right chances and we're doing the right things to get to the positions. Sutton had an unbelievable game against, I think it was 9 saves in the first half.
Yeah.
And a couple of them deflections, last minute move, and he's still getting a hand to it. And I think the one save of Patrick Klimala's header when he was offside into the top corner, I was like, okay, this guy is.
It's one of those games where you just know. It's
like,
one of those games.
We're gonna have to work hard for our goals. And I honestly think we're doing the right things and we're creating chances. I just honestly think not a little bit of luck, but just once we get that momentum going with a couple of results that go our way, I think most of the results this season could have gone our way.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, we've only lost by a 1-goal margin every time we've lost.
Yeah.
Like there hasn't been a result where we've gone 2-3-0 down or we've been like completely out of the game. We're always in the game and we're still chasing and competing. If we can get one of those games, we just kill the game off early.
Yeah.
Like Mariners last year when we went away and we're 3-0 up in 20 minutes. And they were on a 13-game unbeaten streak. It was actually my first start. And yeah, it was kind of like coming into it. We were 3-0 up in 20 minutes. And then it wasn't like the game was over, but like they kind of take the foot off the pedal a little bit because they don't want it to get embarrassing to like, let's defend,
So
let's make sure we don't concede anymore.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like, we're not chasing anything at the moment. So it's, if we can get one of those games, we just have a really good start. And yeah, we can just build on a good result.
I believe
like
we
that.
had that at some point last season too. I think it was about 2/3 of the way through. We just went on a run where it was just game after game
You
after
guys are known
game.
for that. Yeah, you guys have these runs.
Yeah.
I think it was 8 or 9 games unbeaten.
I think so. It was a big win to kick it off. I think it was
4-0
Melbourne
against Newcastle Jets.
It was. I remember it was around the time you guys played Melbourne City, I believe, and they beat you 7-0. Remember that game?
It was, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember that game?
I do.
Remember that game, Hayden?
I do, yes.
Yeah. Felt very good that night, didn't I? Like, I'm sure yourself, you woke up. Nah, should be good. Before we move on, Patrick Klimala.
Yep.
You love the brother. I know you do.
Okay. Now, I would put it this way. Checkbook comes tomorrow. I'm the owner of the Wanderers. I would break the bank. I would break the bank for that brother. He's on loan. I know you don't have shares invested in Sydney FC, but you are a player. You have a message to the board tomorrow. Is he a must sign?
I think so, yeah. I think he's got everything to be an
Natural, isn't he?
big, strong, quick, and can finish. I don't think you really need much else in a striker at the end of the day.
How is he in training in the change rooms with the boys? Still being young himself, is he a natural leader in the change room?
He's good with the boys. His English is very good as well. Having played in America and stuff, so he gets along really well with the boys. And I think he's a good person to lead that front line.
I've got to, just like watching him and seeing him on the field, there's a bit of a vibe that he gives off for me. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just don't fuck with Patrick.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I carry on.
Like, I feel like that's probably the right way to describe it. Like, you look at him, he's, got the tats all over
He's
him.
intimidating, that's the word.
Yeah, he's like,
Nicest bloke though. Like honestly, nicest
No
bloke
way.
off the field. But
I
I wouldn't want to piss him off.
That's what I'm saying. I look at him, I'm like, there you go. You go there, Patrick. It's all right. I'll just take the photo.
Yeah.
But before we move on to the big news that came out of the other day, onto the last game, Auckland to Melbourne City to now, before we get any opinions, you're going to run out of luck eventually. Like, dear God, you've had, 7 games in now? What are we, 7 games, Thomas? 7 or 8 games in?
8 rounds, I think.
Surely.
Most teams have played 7 with a bye.
Yeah, surely it runs out. Surely.
Listen,
Surely.
they come in top 4. I think we can.
Yeah.
They come in top 4, and
Yeah.
deservedly so.
Yeah.
However, yes, the error from Beach.
Yes.
Yeah, Beach and obviously Paulson himself. Yes, we had to have 2 in one game. Impossible almost to have 2 in one game, but it's going to run out. I get it. For me, it's just they survived yet again.
But it's...
is it a new team? Like,
we always said that for a team that comes in new to the A League will always do well. It's statistically they've always done well. Now the question for you, I reckon, is: do you think if they lose that one game, how do they bounce back?
I mean, we're yet to see it. I guess I think they've shown a lot of character within games. but it is a different story when you have a couple like a bad run of form and you're able to like how your team gets over that hump and comes out on the other end of it.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think they've got a lot of quality there. They do.
Yeah.
I think they've recruited well and they've definitely got something brewing over there in Auckland. They've got the fan base. They've got people coming in and people buying into the prospect of it. And yeah, I mean, hopefully they don't keep winning because
For you guys,
for our sake. Yeah, look, I'm not over that Auckland Sydney game. Like from that game, my opinion on them just fuck. I know, but that's
Hayden was more frustrated than you.
Of course, but
just quickly before we move on to Kisnorbo, who I think we're gonna have a bit of discussion on. Sakai, how important is he to this team? I love him because for me, where he played before, obviously even in the Japan national team, he doesn't look like a conventional right back.
No,
He doesn't. But he comes in the mid, overlaps their wing. I think it's Robinson. He's just incredible. I love him. I think he's a beautiful marquee signing. I think he's really, really crucial. I think vital to the Auckland team. Have you been impressed with him?
Well, as a captain, obviously he's doing something right. The team is up for every game. The team is performing. The team is getting results. And yeah, as a technical footballer, I think he has everything really. He's big, strong. He's a lot taller than I thought he was. And he's like strong as anything, like really holds his own in any kind of position as he drifts into midfield or if he's wide overlapping, putting in cross into the box. I think their first goal came off the back of his cross.
Yeah.
I think he provides a lot to that team and a lot of depth in their play style.
Because he spent 4 or 5 years, I must say, as well.
Yeah.
Like he's coming in with that experience. And I think every team could do with one or two of those boys where it's like, all right, you've come in with experience from overseas. You've brought that in with you. Obviously, there's things that, Douglas has come into training. I'm sure you can probably relate to that. He's taught. I've never seen Ryan Grant play that, you hate this word, techie in my life until Douglas Costa rocked up. Like, I'm sure, those type of international players. No, no. But do those type of players obviously rub off, certain ways with other players?
Well, I think it changes the way we want to play as a team.
Yeah.
I think when you have players of Douglas's caliber and his ability, you want to play to his strengths. And a lot of the way when we're on the ball, it changes that. Whereas Ryan Grant's career has been overlapping fullback, get cross in the box. It's kind of how he's built his career, and that's probably like the aspect of his game that everyone's seen the most and probably relates to him the most.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he doesn't have the other side to him. It's just the way he played
brings
under the coaches. And yeah, obviously. So when we come into these things, like I see it in training every day, even last year when we were a little bit less possession based, but we still we're doing possession drills and you can see that he has that ability to 1-2 touch around corners, bounce it. And it just, I guess, is more visible to the public when
when Ryan Grant's doing one touch football tiki-taka style. I'm like, what is happening, man?
Even from an outside looking in, I'm going, that's not normal for that brother to do that.
But no, it builds confidence. Like I'm sure, like having him in general around training, even Joe Lolly. Like you look at like
he's playing Champions League football now, Robbie Mack.
Yeah, I lucky him to be honest with you. Even
we've had our fair share, Leuni. Oh, what a beautiful brother he was.
Leuni spent one season at Wanderers. It was on loan.
We'll move on. To the end of the hour, Patrick Kisnorbo. From an outsider looking in, obviously, you haven't faced victory yet, correct?
No, not this season.
When you do, obviously, I think they are going to be hampered by this. Just from an outsider looking in, players' thoughts. I'm not saying Ufuk. God, no, I'm not saying anything. Where's the Ufuk? He's not leaving tomorrow. I'm just saying, for example, outside looking in, your coach goes tomorrow. Change room, talk to me. The day off.
Yeah. It'd be a big change and a bit of a shock, especially if you don't find out from within the club first. Like I'm not sure if the boys were in and he'd spoken to him or how early they found out.
I don't think it was.
But
from what we know, we don't think it was.
If they found out through social media, I think that's one of those things where you're kind of like, what's actually happened here. But yeah, it definitely throws a spanner in the works because you've worked all pre-season, you've done everything a certain way, and if a new coach is going to come in, you don't know what they're going to change, what they're going to tweak, so it probably makes people a little bit uneasy. Speaking to people from Victory, away with the Socceroos and Olyroos, everyone loved PK. Everyone really liked Kisnorbo and thought that they were moving in the right direction. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go now and who they bring in.
I think the big challenge is going to be whoever takes over in terms of dealing with all, I don't call them egos, but with all the personalities, the very strong personalities in that team, because I think he dealt with it very well. And I think similar to Ulfi, they're very strong people in the sense of
You need a character there.
there's character. And I think even with our squad, if you didn't have character as a manager, you'd struggle because there's a lot of players that know who they are, that know what they want, that are hungry. Like you talked about Patrick Klimala before. I think if there's one word to describe Patrick, it's hungry.
Yeah.
And when you've got a lot of those there, it's going to get fierce. It's going to, the competition's going to rise, and you need a manager that knows what he wants, sticks with it. And I think Kisnorbo was there. We had a discussion about it a month ago when he dropped Azani. And I backed it. I said, as a manager, you come in, you know what you want. If he's acting up, if he's throwing the toys out the pram. See, there's a whole team to deal with. It's not just about one player. Like I'm sure, I know you wouldn't, but I'm sure if you rocked up to training tomorrow, I basically said, fuck this. It's not going to sit well with Ulfi.
No, not at all.
Whereas there's a lot of managers that I feel like I've seen over time, not just the A-League, but in general, don't have much of a backbone. A player can walk in, throw his toys out the pram, and basically he'll be starting on Sunday either way. So he's going to be a big miss. That departure, do you understand this? It's giving very much SBW in 2008, where he's just left. Even the way the A-League, because when you just depart without telling anyone, Thomas, just because you've watched one sport your whole life, my brother, doesn't mean no one else can talk about it. But the reference is very well, because I think he's just departed. I think he hasn't told anyone. I think in the morning, he's basically sent one of those. Yeah, it's giving, I've sent I quit through a text message personally, because we haven't heard a whisper about it. Melbourne Victory haven't necessarily promoted it. They haven't gone on social media and, put through their little, oh, thanks for this and thanks for that. It's just gone, he's departed. So there's something that's obviously happened, maybe a disagreement. He's not going to Yokohama because that's Steve Holland's job now. India's been thrown around, but let's be honest here. I know there's money in the Indian Super League, but why? Why would you give that away to go?
If he takes up an assistant role, I think that's silly for me. At any club, I think, unless it's EPL United's calling.
Yeah,
me, I think it's silly.
But bro, like you got to ask yourself as well. It's kind of like, if he does that and takes an assistant's role somewhere overseas, let's just say, goes to a low table Netherlands team, takes an assistant coach role there. That's the biggest FU to the A-League you could give. He's just basically thrown the club under the bus.
I don't quite see it like that. I think managers, like players, are trying to develop their career. And I don't think, I think managers want to get to the highest level as well. And I think a lot of the managers in the A-League are trying to get experience and trying to find their identity and things they want to do. And I think success in the A-League will bring you overseas opportunities. And if it was to be a low, maybe as an assistant it's a little bit different, but if it was off the head role anywhere in Europe, I think that's
no, I agree.
But even assistant, it's a foot in the door. It's like you're in the coaching staff, you're involved in the club, you can start to plant seeds, and hopefully you can get the first team job there or somewhere else.
However, though, he's been in league. Excuse the pronunciation. With Troyes, I think he was there with the French side.
Yeah,
didn't have the best run there, so I think he's had that taste, Hayden. For me, I just think if he goes as an assistant,
it's a bit. I find it disrespectful. I just back on your point. I do think that applies to the manager and probably the key players in the team. So I think the manager, the captain, and maybe your goalkeeper, your best centre back, and your best midfielder. If they leave halfway through a season, that's got to be thought into, because let's just say, I don't know, you lose your centre back and your goalkeeper. Or say for Liverpool, for example, when they had Van Dijk and Alisson, if either one of them was to walk out, or Jurgen Klopp was to walk out in the middle of the season, she would hit the fan. And at the same time, if it were anyone else, a squad member, you're replaceable. But as a coach, you're taking your philosophy with you. You've left the club. You're leaving them in a shit spot right before a derby. I find there's no reason to do that. You're in a good position. You're building something. Win. Obviously, I want us to win the league. Win the league with victory. Put that on your resume. Get out of there. Go to Netherlands. Take on their 17th place team, and then build your career from there. You've burnt a bridge now. I'm not someone who likes burning bridges. That's just me as a person, because at the end of the day, you don't want that on your shoulders one day, but at the same time, you don't know when you're ever going to need that connection. The A-League, any other club in the A-League now could turn around and basically be like, well, why would we give you a job if you're going to take up something halfway through a season? He's burnt that bridge. And I feel bad for the Victory fans, because there was something good going. Not many times you're gonna have that many personalities, that many good players in the team, that many egos, have it managed and actually play good football.
It's a brilliant coach. Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant coach. So off to the women's side quickly. Jeff Benning FC, you guys fortunately 2 losses this weekend on the men's and women's sides, 2-1. And Wanderers with our first win, 5-1. 5 goals in a game week. Scored our first goal and added 4 more to the collection. It was a good weekend for us on the women's side.
Yeah, look, I was telling you outside, we're missing Kai Simon, man. I think, no disrespect to the strikers we have a lot of them in that team. I think Princess played her best game. I think Millie Farrow's really good. We just lack natural wingers. I don't know why Kaylee Talananika wasn't playing. Indiana obviously had a good game. She scored a goal, but Princess Ibini is nowhere clinical enough. What's her name? Sorry. Shay Connors. Shay Connors misses 3 chances a game. Millie Farrow's... Yeah, but still at the same... Bro, with all due respect to... with all due respect to Shay, I think when she scores, it's very... I want to say it without, offending the woman, but it's like sometimes when she scores, it looks like she's scoring on accident. Like in a way where it's kind of like...
That's a tough call.
It's a massive call, isn't it? You just make massive calls.
You know when Nicholas Jackson, how he's had this season where he's scoring goals, but it just doesn't look like...
It's not like pretty. It's not pretty. Yeah.
Then that's yeah, I know. I'm trying to. Well, clearly Hayden's more versed in the in the being...
So not media trained, is that right?
No comment. But yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. It's not pretty, but at the same time, I think we're playing a lot of players out of position. Margot's not getting much game time in the 6. Nat Tobin, for me, isn't a centre back. I think she's our best left back. I think Tori Tumas had a very good season. Yeah. Jordan's had a good season. Honestly, I was talking to Ante after the game, and the one player he actually bigged up that whole time was Jordan Thompson. So, yeah, look, it's just... There's a lot of issues in that team. I don't know what it is. Maybe we haven't replaced the girls that we lost last season. But there's a lot of shoes to fill.
It's always hard to big up a title-winning season, though. Like, you win the season one year, the expectation is that, I guess, to win it again. Yeah. So, playing with more expectations is never easy. And it's hard to back it up, especially with, a large player turnover. But if I'm not mistaken, we started the season not great last year as well.
Correct.
No, we didn't.
We came home strongly, so...
Yeah. But I felt like we had, I think the one thing I could say about our men's team, like I said, I could walk away and know what we're trying to do. With the women's team, I've struggled a bit this season. It's like, Mackenzie Hawkesby is looking a bit, not so much out of place, but I think without the support behind her, she's struggling a bit more. It's just, we haven't replaced, as much as Ante denied it that day. I just think, Courtney Vine we can replace. As big as that is, you can replace a winger with another winger. Okay. Losing Charlotte McLean is big.
Yeah, massive.
Losing Jada Wyman, who was, a Matilda, is big. Those two specifically for me were huge. And then not playing Margot, who's probably, even though she's not a natural 6, our best 6. It's just, it's sad to watch. It's frustrating, man.
It's frustrating. And just on to, as we move into the Premier League in an England context, being obviously supporting our title-winning club FC and in the women's space as well, do you reckon that's what's going on with City at the moment? How they've just had these 2-3 teams of success, eras, Centurions, quadruple winners, whatever name you want to put onto those teams. Is it just a period of burnout? Does he need to rebuild? Because we go on now, they've lost the derby. It's like, what do we do?
It's 1 win in 11 games, isn't it? The last 11. Yeah, that's unheard of for Pep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pep, Barcelona, Bayern. I know he's always been in the biggest clubs and they've struggled, but I think the way he's playing and the way he's always played has actually become the norm. So I think teams are a lot more well versed in how to counter it and how to play against it, because I think you start to see, obviously Arteta's playing a very similar brand. They all have their own little tweaks on it, but yeah, I think obviously they've got a lot of key injuries with Rodri out for the season. De Bruyne is only just coming back, and to be honest, they looked in control of that game until he came off the field.
Yeah.
For me, I think their midfield is lacking at the moment. Obviously they got Rico Lewis, who's a bit more of a fullback, but has been forced to play. Yeah. Bernardo, but they got those two, Bernardo and Rico Lewis, playing as a double pivot. Neither of them are natural 6s. Neither of them are.
Neither is that left back.
Yeah. It's.
Yeah, I know. I get what you're saying, and I think we're starting to see So when Rodri was fit, when De Bruyne was playing at his best, you knew who were the midfielders. You knew who was playing the vital roles. Now, I've always been a big believer in the last couple of seasons. City don't necessarily have depth. Prior to 2 years ago, yes, they had 3 teams. The last 2 seasons, they've had no depth.
They've just lost everyone. They lost.
But even the depth they have, Jack Grealish isn't doing much. Mateus Nunes isn't doing much.
Yeah.
They're not players that you can. Rodri's out. You can't rely on these guys.
But if you even look at the loss, Mahrez is a better winger than Doku. I won't hear any argument against it.
Yeah,
Mahrez is better winger.
of course,
Yeah,
with
you
the
won't- you won't hear
experience.
arguments
Yeah,
from me about that.
yeah.
Cancelo, better left back than Nunes. Better than any day of the week than Kyle Walker. For me, Kyle Walker 2 years ago was washed.
Yeah.
2 years ago. No, I'll be honest with you.
I think this
First place,
season.
what do you have?
Look, I think this season. I agree.
To the World Cup, what do you have?
No. I think this season I can agree with you. I think last season we still saw games where he was Kyle Walker that we knew. This season we haven't seen it at all. Right? He's being turned by every single winger he's played against. Like Martinelli's had a bad season, but he's turning Kyle Walker. That says something. And Martinelli's not taking plays on anymore. So that tells you something about Kyle Walker. But at the same time, Pep's just run out of ideas. It's as simple as that.
Speaking of a player that is turning people inside and out, onto your team, Diallo. How good did it feel, man? How good did it feel to finally get one of your overs?
To be honest, it was one of the first games I've watched in a while. Just because
wow, no
we had a day off the next day, and it was one of those ones where it was like, you know what, it's worth getting up for, because the times are just horrendous, especially when we got training. And I'm trying to prioritize sleep and stuff like that. So it was one of the first games I've watched in a long time, and I can see what Amorim's trying to get towards, and you can see an identity is forming, which I think we never had under Ten Hag. But yeah, to get the result against them, the way, especially doing it that way, like the 2 goals late on, it kind of reminded me of the 3-2 game a couple of years back, especially Pogba and was it Ander Herrera that scored? Pogba scored a double. I know Pogba scored a double. Maybe Alexis Sanchez scored.
The City game, no, that was against. It was Herrera. It was. I'm pretty
Herrera?
sure it was Herrera.
It was
yeah.
definitely a Pogba double.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris Smalling.
Look,
Oh, yeah.
Could it have been
Oh.
Chris Smalling?
In the train tracks, in the train track jersey, in the black and red one.
Yeah,
When it went
I
across,
think so. Yeah.
Smalling and Pogba double.
Fuck, that was
Yeah.
ages ago.
Smalling.
Yeah, that, it kind of reminded me of that, like 2-0 down at halftime, come out, win 3-2 at the Etihad. Just makes it all a bit
But
more
I think
special,
what
doesn't
was
it?
different is that you didn't really have anything
Yeah.
until Diallo got on the ball. Massive call to leave Garnacho out. Massive call to leave Rashford out. Not sure your thoughts on that. I fully support it.
I
If
think
they're not performing, if
I
they're not-
think the coach has to make a decision at the end of the day.
and if they're not being there for the group, in his words, I think he's got no real choice but to leave him out. You're being involved in a high quality system in Australia, obviously nowhere near in England or in Italy where Diallo sort of started. But how refreshing is it to see a player playing without fear, playing almost without a systematic, robotic, when you get the ball, you only have one option, and that's the pass or to take a play on.
Yeah.
It felt refreshing, didn't it? To
Yeah.
see, especially as a fan of United. How good did it feel? How good to see a player go, you know what? My first thought is go forward, take a player on.
Yeah, it honestly reminded me of Rashford when he first come in to the team. Like he scored 3 goals in his first 2 games. Like he was kind of thrust into the team at a young age, was playing out of position as a striker, but every time he got the ball, he just felt like something was going to happen. And that's what it feels like with Diallo at the moment. He's obviously riding a high with all the confidence he has in the world, won the penalty, obviously, scored the winning goal, and he's just every game since Amorim's come in, he's been unbelievable.
I'm gonna raise a question here because I've heard it about Rashford, I've heard it about Greenwood, I've heard it about Angel Gomez, I've heard it about Garnacho, I've heard it about all these wingers at Manchester United. What's so different about him that in a year's time we're not just gonna go like, oh,
It could be a very similar case. You never know really. Obviously, he's got the confidence at the moment and he's riding a high.
yeah,
It's kind of trying to stay at that level as much as possible. Or if he's going to take a dip, it can't be a massive dip. Like it's rather than you're up here one day and you're down here the next. It's kind of like all
that middle.
all kind of similar. Like if you
Sorry to cut you off. Can I? Where I've just had that thought is, I think personally for me, the thing that separates him is his work rate.
yeah.
I'm not sure Rashford ever had that work rate. I'm not sure Garnacho ever had that work rate.
I think Garnacho did.
Has more work rate
I think
than
Garnacho when Garnacho.
Sorry?
Have you seen Garnacho?
I think when Garnacho first came in, he would I don't think I ever saw him stop running.
Yeah.
But
In terms of tracking back and helping his...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Ahmad's playing a slightly different role than Garnacho was as an out and out winger.
Okay.
Ahmad's deeper.
But I think Garnacho does have that work rate in him, but I also think he's got a little bit of a sniff too early. He's obviously really young. Was like United's saviour for majority of last season. Like he was the only shining light, and maybe that's gotten to his head. You never know. It's one of those things where you never really know what's going on behind the scenes or what. So yeah, but I don't know. I think his work rate is unbelievable. Don't get me wrong, but maybe just because he's always had to. He's a little bit smaller than both of them. Maybe he's always just had to work a little bit harder. And it could just be inbuilt in him. Like you never really know.
I'm going to raise a question here. Now, it's been a long-going conversation on this podcast for God knows how long. Erik ten Hag.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think he's, for majority of it, not to blame. I think
I agree.
I think the club has a lot to take. I think the club itself isn't run well enough. I think the club itself needs cleaning out from the top before you can judge a manager for what they do on the field.
I do agree, but I also never saw progress. Like watching the games, and yeah, we might have won an FA Cup here or there. Like we won some big games as well, but there was never an identity with that team. And as Manchester United, you're playing at Old Trafford. There should be an expectation, and I don't think there was ever. It wasn't a hard place to come to. No one was ever scared to come to Old Trafford under him, and I think that was probably a bit of a problem. Whether or not he's to blame for that completely, but there was no progression at all.
Look, I get that. I also think that United, or especially the people that were running the club at the time when he joined, if I give you a 5-year plan, I need that 5-year plan over 5 years. He'll give them a 5-year plan, and they'll give him everything in that 5-year plan in the first year. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. I think Ruben's been given that time. I think he's going to be given that time because surely they've learned. I know, but
Ten Hag was given time though.
Yeah, but time and trust are two different things.
Yeah.
And let's not joke around here. When he came into Manchester United, we were treating him like the next coming of Pep because, oh, look what he's done at Ajax, look what he's done here. Some would say the same about Potter at Chelsea. No, because when he left Brighton, but I'm saying there's a lot of managers that have come in from these clubs, from your Ajaxes, your Benficas, your Brightons, your clubs that are sitting there near the mid-table but are pushing.
Okay, but as for the United fan on the podcast, I think you guys hype up your managers a bit more than Chelsea does, a bit more than Arsenal does, a bit more than City does. Do you reckon you've always been, because you've been starved of success for so long, you go, okay, this guy's won something, or beat in Netherlands, or in the Portuguese league, this guy's going to come in and save us. You bring Varane and Ronaldo in the first season, come on, man.
I think the whole United fan base is very reactionary with players and with managers. When Amorim came in, obviously I had never really watched Sporting play. You watch the odd Champions League game here and there, and you're like, oh, this is impressive. I actually sat down and watched them play against City. And that's when I was like, okay, there actually is something about the way he plays. To take that Sporting team, don't get me wrong, it's an unbelievable team still. Like the players, a lot of them could play at a higher league and a more competitive league. Gyökeres up front scoring 60 goals in 61 games or whatever it is. I think that's an unbelievable amount of goals. But I also think that has to do with Amorim's play, because I don't know if you've noticed, our strikers are scoring pretty much every goal now.
Yeah. He plays through the striker.
Yeah. Højlund and Xerxes both have more goals in the games they've had now than they did under Ten Hag.
Xerxes is a different kettle of fish for me. But
He calls himself a 9.5 or whatever he calls himself. Yeah.
I don't mind that term. I like the term. I think it exists. I think so. Look, Thomas Muller and Kai Havertz didn't walk this earth for people not to use the term 9.5. So thank you and goodbye.
And on to your club, who to their hopes massively, Salam.
Yes.
0-0. The set pitch merchants have been found out by the original Group 1 football expert.
The last 3 goals have been set pieces, I think, in the league, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
November was 4 weeks ago. Relax. Correct. And there's been an international break.
Yeah.
Anyway. Look. I can't justify the last 2 games. Yeah, the last 2. Okay. Because in our last 5, we haven't lost in 9 games.
Yeah, but there's a difference between not losing and winning.
That's what I'm saying. No, I agree with you there. It's just I can't tell you. Like Trossard, I don't rate. I don't think he does the job for us. I don't think he's a team player. I've got a lot of things to say about Trossard, but I said that last episode, so I'm going to leave it at the last episode. Martinelli, I couldn't tell you anymore. I don't know what's happened to him. He's not taking players on. I know that Calafiore's been out, so we've lost that overlapping fullback. Timber's been tucking in a lot more. He tries. He genuinely tries. But he's not taking players on. He just sits there, does a step over, takes it to the byline, crosses it in. He was dog walking Trent Alexander-Arnold a season ago.
Yeah.
He was dog walking Kyle Walker probably 6 months ago.
Yeah.
What happened?
Confidence.
I'm going to ask you a question though.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, we throw 60, 70 mil at Newcastle, bring Isaac in and play him on the left wing. Do you think it'd work?
Not as an effort.
He's nearly like 6'4".
Thank you very much.
No, 6 foot. They're about 6 foot.
6'4", so
It makes a difference when you're actually above 6 foot.
I like 5 of them, 3/4 of them.
I wouldn't play him off the left. I know he can. I know he has, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's actually he's. I don't think taking on players is genuinely his strength.
But do you think for how Arsenal play, let's just say you stick a Calafiore behind him, you let him overlap him, you give him that support. Obviously, you've got either Moreno or Rice in that midfield position who can tuck in. It will allow him to actually do what Martinelli and Trossard are doing, which is going hip to hip with Havertz at this point.
Do you want him on a half turn, as a 10? He's almost as a 10 in that point.
No, you'd
if
play him.
If you're having the fullback overlap and he's coming inside, he's almost as a 10.
Yeah, but if you push him up forward enough, effectively how we play anyway is we have one fullback tucking in and the other one pushing up. So we play with a front four almost. So if that left side pushes up, and let's just say, effectively he's a second line. And the way Havertz plays, his best position is actually back to the defense and letting players play off him. Yes, but it allows Isaac to play off that left. Now, I genuinely think we're going to go in for him or go Yorkies. So I prefer Isaac. I think Isaac's closer to the Aubameyang that we had a few seasons ago.
Yeah, okay.
Which is what we're looking for.
If you're going between Gyökeres and Isak, I think for you guys, you'd probably prefer Isak.
Yeah.
Just the style of play, the way he is on the ball. Gyökeres is very similar to Haaland, as in he will come up and link up, but he's a finisher.
Yeah.
Put him in front of goal and he's going to score.
Which is
goals though?
No.
Because
Oh, well, yeah, slightly.
But our lefts, look, I'll be completely honest with you. I think our...
before we start this discussion.
No.
That's a Kai Havertz fan. For
He
me,
was telling me, yeah.
So, for me, it just doesn't make sense. Obviously, he's very sensible. He's reverted to as this 9, okay. I don't think that's his best position. I think it has a 10, as he was in Bayer Leverkusen, to be honest. You bring in Gyökeres, definitely scores more goals than Havertz. No one could tell me differently. No one could tell me differently. Are you going to alter Are you going to alter the way you play? Yes, obviously. Like we're saying with Almiron and Hayden now, as you rightfully said. My question is you're not going to drop Odegaard?
No.
So Havertz has to go.
No,
Yeah,
but
if you bring in
if you
Gyökeres,
bring in-
Havertz is out.
yeah, but at the
You
same...
got that?
Bro, but at the same time... No. If you've watched enough Arsenal,
I haven't.
clearly, you'll see that the way Havertz is within this team it's not... We don't need a 9 like a Haaland. And I know we had this same conversation with Stav. Okay, but our goals don't come from one player. We're not a Man City. No. But before the set pieces, even before the set pieces were a thing. Before we were called Stoke City, you look at how we played. You look at how Arsenal played. We had 5-6 players in double-digit goals. We're not a team that needs a Haaland up front. Needs a Zlatan or a Lewa up front. We don't function like that. That's not us. We're not Man United. We're not Man City. Havertz, for what he does for the team, we'll get double-digit goals. We'll get double-digit assists for the season. Sit on 10, 11 on each one. Call it a day. That's the striker we need. We need someone who can just get in and bring everyone in.
0 prems.
Now, the problem is... What did you say?
0 prems.
Who cares?
Okay.
Who cares? We're not talking, but if you wanna, Thomas, no, but you got to build towards it. You got to know what you want. Not every club gets to spend $1.3 billion and just hope it works. Anyway, my whole point with this is our left side's useless. So they double up on our right side, which is where we spend most of our time, which means that we spend more time trying to break down the left side of the other team. And whenever we go to our own left side, where it's generally free, we get nothing done there. So at the moment, for me, if you fix that left side and you get someone who can score goals off the left, I think it'll work itself out because we have goals from midfield. We have goals off Saka. Havertz is a poacher.
Yeah.
When he scores his goals, he's just generally in the right position at the right time. He's not one of those that will find his way in big players. Bring in a left winger that can score goals. Yeah, you keep sighing. It's fine.
with that smile.
Yeah, it's fine. No, you're not the only one on this show that can have an opinion, mate. It's all right.
I'm just saying to our friends. Anyway, before we go on to an Arsenal podcast, which he tends to do a lot, Hayden, move on to Chelsea. White Club 2-1. Good win against Brentford. Cucurella and Jackson. Jackson should have had one before that, but we'll move swiftly on from that. Brentford, how surprised are you by them? They've been in the Prem for now 3 or 4 years. Mate, they're looking like a constant competitor. They're looking like always on the precipice of getting 9th or 10th.
I think they're always hard to beat at G-Tech Stadium, I think it's called. Yeah, they're always hard to beat at home. I think they're one of those teams where there's kind of just a feeling around the stadium, I think, where you watch a game and they scored in the first minute, I think it was 4 or 5 games in a row.
Yeah.
And that makes a difference. You're just on the front foot from the first second. Even without the goal, having a chance in the first minute makes a big difference. Like you feel like you've got a foothold in the game already, and the other team's trying to scrap to win it back. And I think all the fans have bought into it. The crowd and the whole atmosphere is unbelievable. And I honestly think they're one of those teams where they won't lose much at home.
No. If you don't mind me responding with the answer you gave me 2 minutes ago, 0 trophies. Yeah.
Yeah. The expectations are slightly
Hey,
different.
listen, you scream Thomas, hey, mate, you scream Thomas Frank's name like it's gospel. So
Here's my name. Enzo Maresca.
Yeah.
Surprised? I'm really surprised. 2 points behind Liverpool at this point. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I didn't honestly know much about Maresca when he got the job. And obviously he's got 50 players or whatever it is to his...
I think it's 52.
something like that. Like he's managing a whole lot of players. I think he's only working with like 20 odd, I think he said. And the rest are kind of like training individually, which obviously sucks. But I think you've got to...
Weird system.
Yeah, I stick to the players that you want and fit your identity, and from what you've seen at training and who's going to give you the best, and that's the way he's done it has been very cutthroat.
Yeah.
And I honestly think they've been unbelievable, and they've been a bit of a surprise for me as well. I didn't think they'd be that high. I thought they'd do better than they did last year, because I think towards the back end of the year they came home very strongly. Yeah, Cole Palmer's next level for me. He's unbelievable.
Can I ask you one question? Just a quick little, and he's already grinning. Quick diva. Start, bench, sell.
Okay.
Palmer, Saka, Foden. Talk to me.
Current form or
overall?
No.
No.
Okay,
Overall as a player, not take trophies out of the question.
Overall as a player.
Because overall as a player.
what role are they playing? Or like
As a player,
if I had
position
to
where, yeah.
start, bench, sell.
I know who I'm selling.
Oh, shut up. Just stop for a second. I'm not asking you. We already had this discussion.
I think I agree with you. Sell Foden, start Cole Palmer, bench Saka. I wasn't a big Saka fan when he was a left back.
Yeah.
But since moving to right wing, I think he's I think. But for me, Cole Palmer is like he's on form and the best player in the league.
Yeah.
But in general, I just can't really argue with it.
I'm gonna listen.
I think maybe you have a lot more in common. I like CFC. I'm okay with this.
Listen, I'm gonna ask a simple question.
Yeah.
Listen, Thomas, mate. Like I said, you're not the only one with an opinion here. When it comes to Cole Palmer and it comes to Bukayo Saka, I think aside from Mohamed Salah in Europe, no right wing, there isn't a better right wing.
Palmer's not a right wing.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Cole Palmer. I'm talking about Bukayo Saka. When it comes to Cole Palmer in his position, I think you could probably name 2 or 3 players ahead of him.
I just think Cole Palmer has more to his game. I think a lot of Saka's game is built around how quick he is. And
His
obviously,
ability to play on both feet.
yeah, of course. But I think a lot of his game is built around that but being able to play on both feet, don't get me wrong, makes him hard to predict, because he can take you down the line and whip a ball in on his right, or he'll cut in on his left, and you don't want to let him do either.
Yeah.
But I think what Cole Palmer's done since he's left City, to be honest, is just like, whether or not it was just he wasn't getting the time at City or what it was, like I think it's so hard to break into a team that's won everything up for so many years. But since joining Chelsea, I think his career's just gone like sky high.
Look, we all thought Dimitri Payet will be a superstar one day, but look where he is now. Anyway.
If you just called him a one-season wonder, how sad are you? Anyway, your fellow club acquaintance has because that's okay. Liverpool 2, Fulham 2. The league leaders draw again. Interesting, got a red card. I'm really surprised with Robertson's decline. Really surprised. Is that an age thing? Is that the fact that if you look at his CV, he's played at Hull City, I don't know. Do you think he was a clock merchant? That's what I've been seeing on Twitter recently. I don't.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think the Liverpool team where he was shining the most had 2 sixes. He had Henderson and Fabinho, and he had full license to attack. Same with Trent. Like, people would say that they were, I guess, more Trent. They would say he was bit of like a, like he was a I can't think of the word, but he was defensively he wasn't good enough.
Yep.
People would say that, but that was the way they played.
So are you saying Robertson's a better attacker than defender? Is that
I'm saying I think he's had to shift the way he plays a little bit because they don't have that natural six. Like, Gravenberch is great at carrying the ball forward. McAllister, like, their midfield's good, but there's no Fabinho and there's no Jordan Henderson.
No.
And like, obviously Van Dijk is an absolute leader out there, but from what I've heard about Henderson, he was literally like a second coach on the field. So I think he's a massive loss for them, and I think he probably was better as the more attacking or like attacking like fullback and being forced to defend a little bit more. Maybe he's being found out a little bit more.
he's got a couple of red cards, gave away a couple of penalties this year as well. Yeah, I'm sure.
I think age is another thing people are forgetting.
He's not that old though, is he?
Yeah, he's 30 now this year, I believe.
Yeah, but
30 for the defenders.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
when the way he's played for the last 7 years, it catches up on him.
Physically taxing on the body.
Physically taxing, and then
especially Jurgen Klopp team, it will put a lot in your body.
I saw him a bit lighthearted. I saw him the other day. It's like someone tell Andy Robertson to start learning Arabic because, mate, you're on one flight service.
No, I understand it, but even I think we've got to give Fulham a lot of credit here. They're doing well. Like, Alex Iwobi's had a second lease at life.
Yeah.
Pereira's come back since he's Man U. Smith Rowe, I love that brother.
Nelson.
Man, Nelson, they're building something. I think Marcus was doing a brilliant job.
Yeah.
And obviously this wasn't at Craven Cottage. I think Brentford and them are similar. I think
Yeah,
at home
very
they'll
similar.
be very, very tough to beat at Craven Cottage. Almost like a little fortress.
Look, I want to move over from the Premier League now, and hey, I don't want to talk about you for a little bit.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
enough about everyone else. Let's talk about Hayden.
Palmer's still better, okay.
Then Hayden, mate.
No.
Mate,
I mean, I'm not going to sit there and deny that, am I?
just accept
Maybe
it.
it's Hayden. Maybe I would say that.
Yeah.
hey, but mate, could Cole Palmer do it at centre back against the Wanderers? Probably not.
Comeback, definitely not.
Anyway, look, a rise from an academy prospect to a first team regular, mate. It's been a success story. You joined the academy at the age of 12 from St George City, and you've probably lived out every little boy's dream that watched Del Piero and Broski and the likes of them coming through. You've recently played and captained the club in the ACL2, and look, it wasn't all sunshine and roses. Almost 5 years ago today, you went through your injury, and I know that was a tough period, but mate, we're here today, and the last 12 months of your career have been absolutely insane. And like, honestly, a year ago we probably just started, you hadn't made your debut, and then the space between then and now to what you've been able to achieve, like, there's no other way. It starts from groundbreaker. You could probably
Seriously, it's just to bounce off that, Abs, to go obviously what you went through 5 years ago. How was that, if we can just delve quickly into that, in terms of that recovery? Who was with you around that time? And personally yourself, did you see a future in football?
It's actually funny. I actually had 2 broken legs. It's not very common. So I had tib fib, which was the 21st of December 2019. And then 7th of October in 2020, I actually fractured my tibia on my other leg and was in a full leg cast again. So that was pretty much back to back. I'd played 2 games in between. Both happened in training. And it was kind of like, it was a hard time especially, but it was COVID as well, so I think I got lucky.
Yeah.
In the timing, no one else was playing football. I wasn't missing out on anything. Everyone else was at home, and it was I was definitely questioning whether football was going to work out. I felt like I was falling behind. Even at that age, some of the boys in our team were starting to play, like that I come through with, starting to play first grade in NPL, and I wasn't at that level yet, and I wasn't good enough at that stage. I was never in any of the youth setups for national teams or anything. It was kind of one of those things where I felt like I was going to fall behind, and then COVID came around, worked hard, did everything, broke my leg again, unfortunately. Came back, was playing 18s so 2021 I was 17, playing 18s only, didn't get a sniff at 20s at all, and it was just working in 18s, and then we went into lockdown again, and I'd just done the ligaments in my ankle, and I was kind of like, again, like, seriously. And then we went into the second lockdown, 2021, all the way through from June till November, and that's when I just put my head down. I was like, this is like, if it's going to happen, it's now or never. So I did my 6 weeks of rehab for my ATFL or whatever it was, and then I was training 3 or 4 mornings a week before online school, juggling in the backyard every chance I had, like, and I went back to preseason, and when we got back from COVID, I was the fittest person there. I was at peak, like I guess, physical performance, and that's when things started to come together for me.
Judging by that, people think you're a seasoned pro, 30 years in the game, experienced it all. Just, do you want to remind people of how old you are? Is it 20, 21?
20,
That's
20, yeah.
like
Just put into perspective, when he had his injury the first time, he was 15.
Yeah, 15 and 16.
Like,
that's unbelievable.
that's enough.
Serious.
That's enough to put a 15, 16-year-old mentally out of the game for a long
That's
time.
a big word. And if we could just delve on that quickly, because I think a lot of people, yes, they mention, they throw around these terms. Oh, I could have been this if I didn't have this injury. But mentally, how tough do you have to be to go through 2 and then a third one and then you do your ligaments?
Yeah.
How tough do you have to be mentally?
I was at a point where I was like, another one and I'm done. Like if I did an ACL, another broken leg, anything, I was like, I'm done. Because I was at that point where I was sick of watching people play football and not being able to play with them. But yeah, honestly, it's not easy. I think the club were really good with me. They sent Brandon O'Neill around to my place with a signed jersey the first time round, and we had a conversation about football and I guess the highs and lows, and it's all part of it. And I definitely think it helped me get to where I am now. Physically as well, I think it gave me a chance to grow into my body, because I got to that point where I was tall, but I wasn't filled out, and I pretty much had 2 years off. Yeah. And it was like a chance to restart completely, rebuild my body. And it made a massive difference, I think, into getting me to where I am now. And obviously it made me mentally strong and prepared to make it to the next level, I guess, and really knuckle down.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, talking about the club, you've been with us since the age of 12. What does the club mean to you?
It's my family, honestly. Like, everyone around the club has always been so welcoming, and I guess it's always been the place I've wanted to be. I've never once thought, get me out of here. Like, I'm not enjoying this anymore. It's always felt like home. And yeah, I've been comfortable since I walked in the door on that first day when I joined the 13s, and yeah, haven't looked back at all. I've never questioned it, never wanted to leave or anything.
I think the fans can say it as well. Like, at the end of the day, you've been with us for now 8 years, 9 years? Really?
Yeah, 8 years now.
Yeah, and I think we've seen it with any sport. If they're homegrown, they're genuinely, you've got that different connection to the club. It's like, Smith Rowe this year, when he left, he's been with us since he was 8. I'm
a Chelsea fan. I support him. I don't know why. It's just
but it's that
I'm a big Smith Rowe fan as well. When he was at Arsenal, I thought he was better than Saka at the time.
Look, you end up having a different love for the players that genuinely love the club for what it is. Yeah. But
just off that, PK. What's the inspiration behind it?
Funnily enough, it was
Shakira music or.
Not quite.
Even PK didn't enjoy Shakira music enough.
Yeah. I was a United supporter, obviously. But that actually didn't read too much into it. I was a bit like Barcelona. I loved Messi. Would watch that Barcelona team a lot. But I thought he was one of those players that I drew a lot of comparisons to growing up. I don't think I was the quickest. I really wasn't that quick growing up. And I was kind of tall, and I kind of had to adjust to the way I played. And that, I found a lot of similarities in the way I wanted to play, and Gerard Piqué was playing. And yeah, I think I learned a lot from just watching him.
Can I ask, do you think you got a lot of your speed from those 2 injuries? Do you think having to rebuild that strength in your legs helped you now?
Well, I was quick when I was really quick when I was younger. Like, I'd go to regionals and state for running, like 100 meter, 200 meters. But then I lost it as I started to grow. I was awkwardly tall, and then honestly, those 2 years off probably helped me just reset my body and get to the place where I am physically, where I'm able to enjoy everything.
It's an awkward phase. Like, even with me, if you don't mind me asking, how tall are you when you started high school? I was about 1.8.
No, so I wasn't that tall. I was probably about like 170, close enough to it.
I was 151.
I was always tall, but I didn't have my big growth spurt until I was about 14, 15.
Yeah.
And I think I would have had niggling injuries if I didn't have the big injuries. I think the whole process of me coming through at that age, I would have had niggling injuries where I wasn't 100% and had like little, I guess, Osgood slatters, things like that, which I never actually got, fortunately enough. But I think if I had been playing in that time, I think I still would have ended up spending a lot of time on the sidelines. Because
I know with me, like, I had my growth spurts a bit earlier, and then I didn't have my growth spurts till after high school. But I remember, because I played a lot, I played state basketball in high school, and I played state league and union. My body was still growing, so I felt you had the osteos in your shoulders and your knees, and basketball absolutely ripped my ankles apart. It doesn't help. So, like, Thomas, you might not understand, because there's a whole but it's not easy, especially having that injury, because you don't know how that might have affected everything.
Yeah.
But no, man, it's crazy.
Just on that period, obviously you went to school at Endeavour. A lot of rivalry get told between Westfields and Endeavour. Kings now slowly, Kings in my area, King Park I think it's called. Sports schools. How does that differ from a state school, a public school, a Catholic school, a private school? How does that sort of differ? What does your day-to-day look like for any people that are interested in going to a sports school?
So I actually got into a selective school.
Yep.
So my mum wanted me to go there. I just got signed to Sydney FC, and it was kind of like Endeavour is a Sydney FC school with Sydney FC coaches and a Sydney FC identity, I guess. And that was the selling point to my mum. And to be honest, it just meant just more training. We probably trained around an extra 4 or 5 hours a week, more touches on the ball, and like while everyone else is sitting in a classroom, we're training. And
So you get dedicated periods? Is that?
So for football, it was a little bit different at Endeavour because it was like Sydney had just come in and we're trying to make a difference. I think it's changed for the whole school now, but when everyone else did PE, we did training.
Okay.
And then we'd catch up on PE one afternoon and we'd just go through all the theory in one afternoon and get it done. So we were training 3 periods a week, give or take, during class time when everyone else sat in the classroom. And then we got a Thursday afternoon session, which was 2 hours, which was a designated sport time, which every school has. But it's just football training. You're not doing flip out. You're not doing like the the dodgeball or the other things that other high schools do. You're training football, and it's just more touches on the ball. It's everything. It's more exposure to the way different people play, and yeah, exactly.
Tell us about your relationship with Jake. You went from high school friends to graduating together, academy together, and then eventually centre-back partnership at Sydney FC last season.
Yeah, well, we'd obviously played a lot of football together over the years, but we'd never played centre-back together, funnily enough. Like, he was never a centre-back coming through. He was a 6, and he's probably the best tackler and ball winner I've ever seen. Yeah. Yeah, but like you don't want to be on the end, one of the end of his 50-50 with him. You don't want to be on the end of that. Yeah. You definitely do not want to be on the end of that. But we've come through all the way from when I first met him. We were 11 playing futsal at Mascot Vipers, and then went to school together at Endeavour and spent a lot of time together in the car on the way to trainings and carpooling from school to training. And yeah, just having that relationship with someone, as we spoke about before, was massive. It just made the transition for me into A-League a lot more comfortable, and going in every day and going into an unknown environment, I guess, when I first started training with the team, and having such a familiar face there, like, made a really big difference for me.
The funniest moment with Jake that you can give, that's PJ.
Oh, there can't be too many that are PG. Yeah, I think we'll just leave it at that.
We'll just leave it. What he's trying to say, there was too many moments that there's not enough time on this podcast to give.
No, there was one. We were in the car, and like, I don't know if you guys did it. You used to flick each other with pens at school. Yeah, and you go like that.
Mine is red. He just did it outside.
See, one of my mates, we were in the car on the way and they had used a spoon. And Jake was in the front seat, and they got him right on the shoulder bone. And I've never heard someone like in that much agony.
Like that little like.
Oh. Was it a screw, or was it like a proper screw?
It was like a proper like grunt, and like he was not happy.
That's look. To be honest, though, I think it would have been good to have him around the season. I think it would have been interesting to see what it would have been like having him, say, even playing the 6 this year. But he's hopefully they're going to do bits in the MLS and we'll see.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Obviously, as Abs alluded to before, captain in Sydney FC. That must have been obviously a fan of the club. Been involved in the club from a young age, 12. What does that mean to you? It's people say it just feels different when obviously you supported the club, and then obviously to wear the shirt, but then to captain it. That's something a few players can hold to their name, Hayden. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was very surreal. Obviously, I didn't actually know, because obviously we played a bit of a rotated lineup, and I found out just after warm up we come back in and Uffy's handed me the armband. And yeah, honestly, I had no inkling or anything. I knew we were playing rotated lineup. I knew we had some people older than me and some people younger than me in the team. So I actually I wasn't sure. Obviously, I'd captained the MPL team before, but it's just different. Like, it really is just, if you go out there and you're like, okay, now I have to, like, if I am wearing this armband, I have to represent it. And I have to represent like even more. I have to give even more than I do on a regular basis.
Were you more nervous for that moment or your debut, be honest?
My debut, my starting debut, or starting debut, I was more nervous.
Yeah. Look, even that day when I saw the lineup, I posted it on the story that day. I'm like, I captain my captain. I'm like, it's like I said before. You're sky blue through and through, and obviously, what we do with our stuff. Obviously, you try to be as impartial as you can, but you know, the fan inside of you never leaves. And
Yeah.
like when you see a player that you've watched come through the time, and you genuinely, like, all jokes aside, like genuinely one of my favorite players in the league, to see you at such a young age, and you know, talking to you now, it's like you're a lot more mature than your age. You can tell that, all right, you know, he's got his head screwed on. So for Ulfi to give you the armband, to me, it was like, you know, it's not that you'd question it, but it's a no-brainer. You know, I think Segacic on the day was captain too.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think in the next few years, let's just say, you know, Ryan Grant decides to end it over and Redmayne's not there anymore, I wouldn't be surprised. So, yeah.
Yeah, but just obviously on that leadership quality, obviously we alluded to at the start, latest Socceroo. How did it feel to be included in the latest campaign? Obviously, with Indonesia coming to Sydney in March, hometown, homeboy.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be the head of the promo? Honestly.
Yeah, it was pretty strange. Obviously, when I actually first got the call up, it was a bit of a shock. I knew I was in the extended squad, and I was kind of like, oh, that's nice. I was meant to actually go on Ollie Roo's camp as well. It was kind of like, oh, I imagine I'm still going there. No one said anything else otherwise, and it was. Yeah, obviously it was nice to just be in the extended squad. I was like, oh, I'm in contention. Like that's unbelievable. That's massive. And then to actually get called into the squad, I thought, oh yeah, it's amazing. And then obviously first game in Melbourne, family came down. I wasn't in the match day squad at all. I was kind of like, yeah, it's one of those ones where it's like I'm here for the experience, get comfortable with the environment, this, that, and like I guess develop. And then the -1 session against Bahrain, I just got thrown in with the starters, and I was like,
shit.
Am I like? I was looking around like, am I in the right spot? Like, am I meant to be? Am I meant to be wearing this bib? And then obviously they started speaking to me about the game and starting, and then to use me as the front for the game against Indonesia in Sydney is, it's obviously a massive thing, I guess.
Do you draw any comparisons between Ulfi and Popper? I see it a little bit. They're very similar.
In what way?
Obviously intense. They're very demanding of what they want, and I think their expectations are high. I think if you're not reaching those expectations, then they're not afraid to make a decision, and that's the way I think a coach should be.
Yeah.
And obviously, like you were saying about PK, I think that's what he had at Victory. I think he had his bar, and that's what Ulfi has, and that's what Popper has. And it's like for the coaches I've worked under, I feel like it's the best way to get the best out of the players.
Yeah, it's crazy to think, you know, like from the first question we asked, talking about the Socceroos now, life comes at you fast. And, you know, one thing you're debuting, the next thing you're playing for the Socceroos. Before you know it, who knows, you're in the next World Cup. Like, it's just, you don't know what could come next.
Yes.
Last question from me. I know I've just got one more for you. Hayden Matthews in 10 years will be 30.
Yeah.
What does your career look like in 10 years?
Let's hope it continues on its current trajectory. But yeah, it's always been my goal to play in the Premier League, Champions League, like the top level of football. And hopefully that's not the next step, but hopefully that's a step in my future. I think the next step would be getting into European football and getting the experience and exposure at a higher level, and continuing to build my career, continuing to be in the Socceroos, and hopefully make that 2026 World Cup and every other World Cup onwards. It is the goal now. I'd kind of earmarked the 2031, kind of like being a bit realistic with age.
Spain's a beautiful country to go to.
Yeah, with age and everything that had gone on, I was like, this one seemed a little bit far-fetched. It was one I was like, I want to go to it even if I'm not playing, I want to go as a supporter. Now obviously having a sniff of it, you want more. It's like a drug. You just chase that high. I want to be in the next squad. And it gives you a constant goal.
Yeah.
Which is really good. And yeah, hopefully I can cement my spot in the starting team there and continue to progress moving forward. And yeah,
Martinez is shaking in his boots at you,
I mean,
after those performances, mate.
Were you thinking like one of those players? Was there like a grandma's like background that you could have been like, oh, if I don't make the Socceroos squad, I can play for this country?
No. Short story, no. I think the past 4 generations, it's Aussie.
Mate, Hayden Matthews is not just a sky blue, he's true blue, mate.
Pretty much.
I feel like
No, we don't. Not tonight, mate. It's too late. It's too late for a Tui's, mate. Nah, but all in all, man, it's been a crazy journey. Like it's been absolutely insane between the Socceroos call up, between your call up from, you know, against the Mariners last season. It's just, you think about it, you know, God knows where you're going to be in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, let alone 10. Like, you know, that's just life. At the end of the day, like a year ago, I barely knew any of you guys here in this room, and look at us now.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's one thing we've got to get you to sign before we end up call it a day.
Yeah.
He's actually brought it with him today. So
Right.
we were given this ball by our first guest. His name's Kevin KG George. He runs Sporting Rovers.
Okay.
And ever since then, every guest that our good friend behind the cameras brought the ball with him, we've gotten to sign. So
It's the photo for a reason. Yeah, but no, just on that point, Hayden, just on where Abs was saying, it's who knows? Thank you for signing it. Yeah,
No worries.
In a year or two, who knows where your career will go? And just a massive thank you from us, seriously, from the podcast. Obviously, we've only just hit our 1 year anniversary, and yeah, just it's a massive year. We couldn't think of a more perfect guest to bring on around that time for our 1 year. And obviously, Christmas coming up, and yeah, just a massive thank you from all of us, from Matt, Jules, myself, and Abs. Just thank you.
No worries at all, mate. Thank you guys so
And
much
that's
for
not
having
from
me.
West City Wanderers.
look,
Yeah.
and you'll forever have fans here. You know, we're number one, not number one. I don't want to be that guy, but like we're huge fans here at the end of the day, and it's kind of been like, you see someone grow, and you could tell they got a good head on their shoulders. That's something you want. I've got, like I told him, an 11-year-old sister at home. Matt's got a younger brother. Jules has a younger sister.
It's great role model.
You want someone they can look up to, and I think you're doing a great job in terms of leading our next generation.
Oh,
So
thank you, man. It's a massive compliment. Hopefully, I can live up to those expectations moving forward.
of course, and we'll be there on the sidelines of the games. Don't worry. Next time I'll be like, "Hayden, come over here."
Maybe I'll need a score and you can get some photos.
Do a Cruyff turn.
Step overs and everything. I think I'll get hooked.
The fuck is not going to do that, I promise you.
I'll take the blame in the press. I'll be like, sorry, I asked him to do a Cruyff turn at the back. But should be good. On that note, I think we're going to end it there. I've been Abs.
I've been Thomas, the special guest once again.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having me.
Your name is?
Hayden Matthews.
Thanks, guys.
Ciao, ciao.
So-
Hayden, before you go, if we can just get...